What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'll be taking a look at the first season of a little show that I like to call Lost. The first season of Lost focuses on a number of survivors of Oceanic Flight 815 who find themselves stranded on a very strange and mysterious island that appears to have mystical properties, monstrous beasts, curious hatches, and others that have presided there far before they crashed. Can you believe that this show first aired over 16 years ago for the very first time? Makes you feel old, doesn't it? I mean, back then I was already a fan of J.J. Abrams since I knew him from Alias, which is another show that I absolutely love. Since Lost, he has gone on to work on Fringe, Super 8, Cloverfield, the Star Trek films, and obviously the Star Wars films as well. And that's kind of garnered him a lot more hate than he deserves, because even if you hate the Star Wars films, or even the Star Trek films at that, which I categorically do not, you have got to appreciate all the work that he has done leading up to that. If you had to choose his most famous, or maybe most popular work of art, I'd probably have to say that it's this. Lost is a TV series that has gotten a lot of criticism and mixed reviews. What I tend to see is that, you either hate it with a passion or think it's the best show that has ever existed, ever. I personally believe that if you hate it, you're not wrong necessarily. After all, you're entitled to your opinion. But I think there's a good chance that you don't fully understand the show either, because there's a lot to soak in. And I've seen, I don't even know how many people that misconstrued the series finale as something that it's not. And if I continue reviewing this series, season by season by season, let me know if you want that, I'll eventually get there and explain it, but for now, I'll just be talking about this first season. Season 1 is probably the most laid back or straightforward season out of the bunch, even though it still has a lot going on as is. As the series progresses from here on out, it kind of gets crazier and crazier, but if all you have to see is this first season, you'll still think it's massively entertaining and full of absolutely astonishing mysteries and revelations. I did want to point out that this review will contain spoilers, since it's hard to really talk about an entire show, or at least season of a show, properly without talking about some important points. First of all, the title of Lost refers to a couple of things. I mean, one, obviously, they're lost on this island. They're lost as to what kind of mysteries await them, and they're individually lost in their lives as well. To kind of explain this deeper, I kind of want to talk about each character for a second, or a lot of the main characters. If you were to pick a main character of this show, it would undoubtedly be Jack, played by Matthew Fox, as he is the doctor on the island. He's essentially the glue that holds everybody together when they're all arguing over something or another, and obviously he tends to be the guy that fixes their medical needs as well, since he's the doctor, but also he has a hero complex and always is wanting to fix somebody or fix something. That's ultimately how he feels lost in his life, especially when it comes down to his troubled relationship with his late father, who was also a doctor, but a drunk doctor who thought Jack betrayed him. Then you have Kate, played by the Wasp herself, Evangeline Lilly, who at first glance seemed to just be kind of the eye candy of the show, but as it turns out, she has a much deeper and darker history involving crime that got somebody that she was close to killed, and the guilt that she's carried all the way to the island makes her feel lost. Sawyer, the bad boy of the island, is played by Josh Holloway, and his history is just as dark as Kate's, if not darker, as he is lost in a pit of revenge, as his entire life has been focused on the desire to kill the man responsible for getting his parents killed. I mean, he's essentially the Batman of this show, if you think about it. Next up is Rockstar Charlie, played by Dominic Monaghan, and he's simply lost due to a drug addiction that all started thanks to his brother. Saeed is there. He's lost because he's looking for the love of his life, Nadia, and he feels guilty over something there. John Locke, however, is one of the only characters on the island that does not seem to be as misfortunate or lost as others, because he was more misfortunate and lost before he came to the island. I mean, he started out completely paralyzed from the waist down, and once he crashes on the island, it seems to have magically given him the ability to walk again. Hurley is indeed lost as well, but that's something that you'll come to learn more about in the next season, but it has something to do with his feeling that he's constantly unlucky in life. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, as the rest of the cast of characters, all pretty important to the continuation of the story, such as the distant spouses of Jin and Sun, the love-hate bond between siblings Shannon and Boone, the father and son duo of Michael and Walt, the pregnant Claire. All of these characters have an incredible amount of depth and development that I'm honestly impressed. This is like the Avengers Endgame or Zack Snyder's Justice League of TV shows, specifically when it comes down to character development and the individual focus on why all of these people are integral to the plot or the direction of the show itself. I mean, after you get acquainted with the characters, you have to get acquainted with the primary mysterious arcs of this first season. The main one being, what is this place and how are we going to get home? But as it progresses, it begins to become something much more wild than that. I mean, random polar bears on the island. Walt's mysterious abilities are something else that makes him special. There's a monster on the island that you never really see, but you definitely hear it because it makes a lot of noise as it chases people around, ready to tear them into shreds. You have others on the island, though in the first season, you don't really see them as much as you hear them, other than the season finale, of course. You have Claire's pregnancy, and there's hints as to the fact that that's really, really important to the natives on this island for some reason. You have the French woman, who is, she's mysterious from the second you meet her all the way to the very, very end. Locke's mysterious healing from needing a wheelchair to miraculously being able to walk and sort of be a leader is really strange, and one of the strongest mysteries of this first season, and one of the best mysteries of the entire show that's probably answered quicker than any of the others is, what's this giant hatch in the middle of the island? Where does it go? Why isn't there a handle on the outside of this hatch? What's going on? That really kind of clues you into sort of the craziness that the rest of the series will run into. And as crazy as most of these mysteries are, they're still all pretty much just introductions to bigger and crazier reveals. Most of these mysteries aren't even really answered in this first season. I mean, this is a show that doesn't really feel like other shows. It's not like, okay, this first season's going to be about this. The second season is going to be about that. No, it's more like the entire show from start to finish is the giant jigsaw puzzle filled with mysteries and revelations. So, mysteries introduced right now aren't always going to be answered right away. And that's something that I actually have always enjoyed about the show. It's different, but it's also something that I can understand if it annoys other people, because as an audience member or even a fan, it does get frustrating as the show goes on when it introduces all of these different questions without answering the questions we already had for weeks prior to that. I mean, I remember watching this week to week to week and saying, oh, great, another question we'll never get the answers to. Because it really does feel like that when you watch the show. So when I see this first season, I know it's not the best season in the entire show, at least not in my opinion. I know we've really only seen the tip of the iceberg as far as insane things that happen. I knew going in that any and all questions that arise watching the first season aren't really going to be explored that much in depth yet. But as it is, the first season is crazy entertaining and incredibly strong in its ability to tell a story and keep the character development flowing. Also, I kind of forget how the flashbacks continue in further seasons, because the flashbacks in the first season were mostly about introducing these characters, where they were in their lives up to this point, and how they came to arrive to the airplane that ended up crashing. It was sort of like Orange is the New Black. They did kind of the same thing where all these women are in prison. They had flashbacks too that did the same thing, where it was introducing who they were and how they got arrested, how they ended up in this women's prison. So these flashbacks in this first season, like the entire season, are pretty much just important for character development and just, introductions all around, but they haven't really gotten into the mysteries themselves yet. Not really. We'll get there. So if I were to score this first season, I think I'd probably give it about 9 out of 10 or so, just because, it's obviously very well done, but it's just an introductory course as to what's to come, which from my recollection, it's been a while, is crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But anyways, guys, have you watched Lost, either in its entirety or just this first season? I want to hear your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. What do you think about it? Do you think these mysteries are a little bit too bonkers for you to actually enjoy the show, or do you love it anyways? Because for me, I've always, kind of had this separation from reality when I watch the show, and I've just always enjoyed the mysteries that it gave us, because yes, they're bonkers, but they're a whole lot of fun. They're definitely a lot of fun to create theories for when you watch the show. So let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below, and don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. Until then, peace out.